Welcome to Not the Andrew Neil Show. Yet again, this time it's a First Minister's review of, the 10th of May, just for posterity. I introduce my guest today. It's Norrie Stewart, political blogger.
Hello.
Phil Attridge,
Hello.
political ranter. And myself, Stewart Lochhead. I could say I'm a political blogger as well. Well, guys, we'll stick to the old routine. Performances of Joanne Lamont first, perhaps. Norrie, you start.
Content problem again. No substance to it. No real question in it. It was an excuse to rant about Labour's imagined victory. Better delivered.
She had confidence. She believes in what she was saying.
I mean, she
Definitely. If you spin it enough, you will, of course.
She's definitely a street fighter. That's where she's most comfortable.
So well, let's focus on the performance
a slagger, as opposed to a slag.
Okay, so based on performance then.
I'll give her a 7. No, I won't. I'll give her a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, okay. Phil, performance?
Performance, well, apart from that, I didn't really know what she was on about. Was delivered with confidence, but then to my mind that's scary. That's the scary bit when, you know, you're sitting listening and going, what are you on about? A victory. When I first got elected in the Labour Council, we had 34. Now we're talking about a victory in Edinburgh. We have 20. Well, I suppose, yeah, it depends what time of the year.
She never mentioned Edinburgh.
Well, of course she wouldn't, because that's a bit of positiveness and a bit of sensible. A lot of it is, oh, well, you've got to slag them off because they're stealing our voters. And I should imagine it would be exactly the same if it was reversed. We don't like you because you're stealing our voters. It's sibling rivalry, really. They don't realise it. Personally, I stick with Norrie. Because really,
was that her best performance?
No. She's done better performance. She's done worse. But she is a street fighter in that way. But I'm sorry, I just don't. I just get really sick of negative. And watching the City Council this week, I thought was absolutely marvellous. That's all they went on, you know.
Look, I mean, I have to say, I thought she was, to me, I'd never seen her look so confident.
Yeah.
That belied the content that she was talking about. But I mean, they were bound to, because that's the nature of the Labour Party in Holyrood. Is the only thing to know. They imagine they've got a small victory somewhere, and they crow. They have no other modus operandi. I've never seen them behave in any other way since I've followed First Minister questions. They think they won the election, or they said they'd won the election. They won the spin. They got the mainstream media to say they won the election immediately afterwards. And she just sailed on, dined out on that note, that imagined win. If we go back to content, then come on, Norrie, back on content. I'll give her 6.
Well,
I think we're all 6s then.
What got me is this. It's great. Let's not compare like with like. All they talked about was 2011, the Holyrood election, claiming that Salmond lost a quarter of his support.
I'm sorry, but when I go in to vote in a local election, it's got nothing at all to do with what I would vote for in a UK election or a Scottish election. How can you compare chalk and cheese?
But that's the problem. And the reason she gets away with it is because the mainstream media have been doing exactly the same thing. So essentially, the message is, the narrative is, any way that they can make it look like Salmond didn't do better is acceptable. Whereas in fact, the SNP are up on first preference, they're up on the number of candidates, they've got a wider spread. So anybody looking at Scotland from the outside is going to be saying the SNP are doing well. They're continuing to do well. Okay, they didn't take Glasgow, but it's all about slagging Salmond. The problem for the unionist parties in Scotland is, the Americans are going to look at this, the Australians are going to look at this. I mean, my blog gets hits from all over the world, and more than from the UK. You know, when you put it all together, they're going to look at this and they think, who are these numpties? If they can't play at grown-up politics, they shouldn't play at all.
Content, Phil, yeah?
The content, it wasn't there because, I mean, Salmond actually hit on it, and it's that negative, when he said 500,000 of the poorest people in Scotland, thanks to this SNP government and basically a Labour-orientated STUC, worked together to make sure that these people didn't lose out on their.
Well, there was
on
a
benefit.
Westminster cut on council tax benefits, which the SNP government have restored.
She refuses to even acknowledge that. I mean, that is actually pathetic. I mean, it's really, really worrying. If somebody does something that's positive, well, admit it.
What was the comment, the Sir Rupert comment, supposed to
I have no idea.
entice Salmon?
I
to
didn't know
say?
Rupert was a sir.
He's not.
It's not.
I know that the Labour Party gave Fred Goodman his
Essentially, that's
knighthood.
a lie.
I know that the Labour Party, of all but the major Labour parties, have been closer to
And
Rupert
drank his
Murdoch than anybody else.
champagne and
Tony
looked
Blair's-
after his kids.
Tony
and had
Blair's the
pajama
godfather
parties and
of Rupert
No, but,
Murdoch's
I mean,
daughter.
It's, okay.
Gordon Brown's wife had pyjama parties with.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's essentially the message that came out, I would say, to most people that understood what happened in the local elections, to most people that follow politics, is she's making it up.
Yep.
She seems to live. The Labour Party based in Glasgow seems to be becoming an issue. The very fact that their headquarters is not where the power lies, they seem to live in this deluded world, fantasy world all on their own. Well, let's move on because we don't want to be boring people. We've got Ruth Davidson, Norrie.
Well, that, I mean, we have a panic, a calamity. Something that hasn't changed since day one. If you have dual nationality, British and any other EU passport, you get free education on the basis of your EU passport in Scotland. No change. Been like that since ever. Now it's an issue for the Tories? I mean, that's another total non-substance thing.
Phil, you were upset about this.
Yeah, because actually it's the same, particularly from Scotland, because they have actually moved away from it a bit in England, but that numpty, right-wing, Presbyterian, racist attitudes towards the Irish, alive and well. Well, up you. We're independent, you know.
You mean the Guinness loophole?
Oh, the Guinness. I mean, it was just a rant, you know.
That's the Guinness loophole.
I
Fantastic.
should be quite surprised she'd never an orange sash.
I was very disappointed in Ruth Davidson today, actually. I kind of thought she's lucky because she follows this fantasy question time that Lamont's involved in. So if she asks any sort of substantive question, it makes her look better than Lamont. But not today. I mean, that was just,
I don't.
how desperate are they?
Okay. Scores for Ruth this week?
I won't even bother, thanks. I don't give racists
Okay.
scores.
I mean, I put her well down. I put it down at 3. There wasn't even a laugh in there. Normally you get a smile.
I'll agree with you. I'll give her a 4, but her makeup was tidy. Willie Rennie got a say. What about Willie Rennie, Norrie?
Well, Salmon's personal position is irrelevant, but
We're
it's
talking
not
about equal marriage.
equal marriage.
It must have seemed very good when they sat in the Will Lib Dem office saying, oh well, Cameron supports equal marriage, Obama supports equal marriage. As far as I know personally, Salmon supports equal marriage, but he's First Minister. And
That's
they're-
his position.
And they're
Now-
considering changing legislation, so they're consulting.
But it's irrelevant. They're in the middle of a consultation, and well, according to Salmon's figures, 60,000 people have contributed. That's a major input, and they want him to get up and say, "I support equal marriage." Now, the only reason they want him to do that is so that the people who don't support equal marriage.
Well, yeah, it shows just like the person who was quoting that hypocritical right-wing president of America, the one that you couldn't believe 2 words that he said anyway, because it just,
Obama that didn't
Obama
close Guantanamo Bay, that authorises drone killings every week of innocent people.
tribunal,
here,
probably death by tribunal. Yes.
He also-
sorry, I wouldn't listen to him.
He
Anyway, I'm
also-
a European, for God's sake.
He also called Cameron a progressive world leader.
Yeah, Salmon didn't let him off with that.
Jesus! Now we've
Well,
got
he's
a
obviously
problem.
been offered something from down south. You know, maybe Lord Willie.
I just find it. I mean, again, if they can't find something substantive They should just shut up instead of making fools of themselves.
Well, they have, but I mean, they're obliged every week to ask a question.
Well, they need to do a bit of research.
So they got all week to think
Any
up.
comments about
All week to think
the
up.
regiments, apparently the latest...
Sorry,
I mean, that's what sums it up. The questions that came after the party leaders' questions had some interest in them, there was some backbone to them, apart from the Dundee SNP guy
Who were waffled on, didn't
who basically made a speech and got told to shut up, quite rightly.
by the presiding officer.
Yeah.
But could somebody here answer me a question? Why are the Scots so keen on hanging on to regiments that were raised by British or English kings to put down Scots?
Following the Jacobite rebellions.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I think there's a very long, complicated answer to that.
I mean, you should really all join
It's
Opus
not-
Dei. You do
there's
love
nothing-
hitting each other, don't you? Each other yourselves.
There's nothing long and complicated about it. It's the romantic side. It's we're really hard lads. That's what
It's the Jacobean side.
Well, I mean,
What do you take if you lose?
but if you've been in the army,
Yeah. You can
the
understand
most
that, yeah.
important thing is not the British Army. It's not even the regiment. It's the guy next to you. It's his cap badge. It's your regiment. That's more important than the army you're fighting for.
Yeah,
Well,
and was
that's what they teach.
Was it the Black Watch or the one
And
that's
if you
been...
lose that, you lose one of the essential driving forces that keeps the cohesion in any unit. And what's the problem? What's the problem?
Yeah, or they all just love being in a regiment where they go around massacring Malaysians, is it as well, yeah?
Well, that's another issue.
Give them a little
Good
bit
point.
down,
Very
yeah.
good point. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think it's been very interesting this week, and a little heat was generated in this discussion. Thank you, and goodbye.